In Poetry Hall of Fame, I'm Thundercloud. My mum calls me James. Welcome to Wednesday Words Open Mic Poetry Night. Yeah, let's get the show on the road. What's the difference between poetry and prose? Who knows? Who cares, really?
You just said it, didn't you? Who knows? You can by the nose or the kneecap.
Yeah. Oh. There was a man named Pollux who was in the he was still from hang on. There was a man called Pollux, and he came from a place called Dunholix. Well, he went in the water where he order. If it was raining, it would be up to his ankle.
That didn't rhyme.
No, that's right. Otherwise, if it was, that's prose. If it was poetry, it would be up to his bollocks.
That's right.
Yeah, something like that. All right, so there was so this is a mixture of both here. There was a man who was a poet. He'd rhyme his lines and wouldn't blow it. He'd like to write some prose, but it was on the nose, so in the bin he decided to throw it. As the prosaic, proselytizing preacher performed his prose, the audience had the can't even read that, the audacity. He noticed, I can't even read what it says. The audience had the audacity to slip into slumber. He noticed that the consensus hypothesis was waning, and his voice rose to a loud crescendo, attendant to a dreamland of rhyme and metre, so he stopped and walked away from his pulpit. The poetry of the poet was a bit of a joke as he started reciting. The audience awoke. This is what the poet said: prose makes you sleep, but bored and asleep is what the poet spoke. But that wasn't the one I wanted to read out, but it was something like that anyway. But I haven't got anything to read out from other poets tonight. I have, but they're in another room and I lost them and I couldn't find them. Yeah.
Think of James K. Baxter out of Serendipitousness.
Such
a big book.
I don't know if I even have that book. Oh, okay.
Just open it anywhere, but read it.
No, I've got some stuff that I've got ready here. When I find it.
That was a doorbell, I think.
Oh yeah, that's several fellas leaving. Yeah.
So the basic thing that linguistic philosophers say about poetry and prose, it's fancy, but there's a truth in it, is that prose is centrifugal and poetry is basically centripetal.
Oh.
And then there's whole books written about
That sounds like a load of academic.
Oh no, it's not.
No, it's
not actually.
Because I don't understand.
No, it's
How
not
many people
actually.
understand
It's
what?
not actually
centrifugal.
Well, you should. It's a simple basic thing of mechanics and engineering, but that's the basic gist of it, the yin and yang of it. And it's very meaningful, and many books about it.
Okay.
But English people tend to dismiss these things at their peril.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, one's more metre and rhyming, and one's just a whole bunch of words mashed up. Yeah, one has more metre and rhyme and a structure, whereas the other sort of tends to just get smashed all together. And it's prosaic. It means like writing in a way. Yeah.
The poetry definitely has some sort of formula. There's many formulas.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of them.
Whereas prose, there are what do we call them in prose? We call them genres.
Yeah.
There's genres, but which have different structures. But then there's also prose. Narrative can fall is a prose. And gosh, it's.
Well, this is definitely poetry. And that's what I'm going to do now. Some Effin the Geffen, love, Niffle the Whiffle, where the spiffle wopple wadden grew in Tiddle Diddle Ditch. They danced about the fuddle frop and the learning of the derms, while Maffle Baffle Twaddle Post swilched in fardle berms. Niffle the Whiffle said to Effin the Geffen, the fardy fardle berms a hill she waddle shop the nodal derms. The fuddle frop has both each twop. Maffle Baffle Twaddle Po in Tiddle Diddle Ditch, where every spiffle wobble wadden grow.
Well, that is very, very informative.
Yeah, it is, isn't it? Yeah.
It's a real carol with Lewis up front and after.
What's that novel which is written in another language?
Lewis Carroll does that in Alice in Wonderland. But James has got his own version, Malice in Wonderland.
What's the
Clockwork
It's a little like Clockwork Orange.
Yeah, it's just a bit like Lewis Carroll Jabberwocky, but what I did, you see, in the first, there's 2 stanzas, and the first one I used the same nouns, just mashed up in a different kind of order as to the second one, but then just jiggered them all around so to make a second verse like a story. But there is a painting that I've done that goes with it, Steve?
Yeah.
Have you seen that one? Yeah.
Oh no, it's got definite reason.
Yeah. When you get
see
to
the
like,
picture and the way that it's written, but
yeah.
still couldn't make any sense out of it.
No.
I don't think there was a happy ending.
Oh no.
Can you do it again?
Would you do it again? Because I think that's a good idea.
Sometimes you'll come
We'll pick up.
No, it does. Like the fardel berms a hilshy, waddle shop the nodal derms, the foddle from Aspo titch top, maffle baffle toddle po and little ditch where speaking what and grow. It's it depends, it could be.
It adds up structurally.
Yeah.
It's really just structure.
Yeah.
You sense that when you're doing it.
Oh yeah, but that's
That picture really set something in my mind though, James.
It does, yeah. Especially
it's a beautiful little story.
like the big penis, it's like a slug in the vagina with legs on it.
Yeah, it just talks about sex.
Well, it's actually true. Yeah. It's actually true, isn't it, Steve?
Yeah,
it is. It's
Little ditch.
They accuse me of talking all this sexual rubbish all the time.
All right. Well, this has now just turned into the R-rated poetry night, and we're live on Facebook. But anyway, we all live together, friends, sisters, parents, brothers, and when each of us is in need, we look after each other. Any one of us can hit the skids any single day, and kindness is how we lift each other up the community way. That's really short too. But I did write one for today, and it's called Brushy Creek.
I saw that.
Brushy Creek. Now, I was having my breakfast this morning, reading this book, and I got up to page 59, and it was the chapter on Brushy Creek. And I think I put the book down, and I just started writing, so, and then there it was. So then it was breakfast finished, people here, and yeah. But so Brushy Creek, if I can find it here, I'll read it out to you. So hopefully
yes, the property around here.
It is. It's out towards Tenterden.
Yes, exactly.
So, I think it's around about 30 kilometres or something.
Yeah, I think so.
If you stay for a night in old Brushy Creek, it's likely you'll stay for more than a week. When the gentle winds blow uphill from the east, Brushy Creek is a place you'll find peace. Brushy Creek has an old slab cabin or two, and travellers and the locals will all welcome you with a cup of hot chocolate and a warm bed. Breakfast by the creek to clear your head. There's a long winding road to the top of the range through granite boulders, spooky and strange. Past the lagoon, you'll descend from the peak, then follow the gully down to old Brushy Creek. There's wallabies, roos, and occasional hares, echidnas, platypus, turtles, and koala bears, which aren't bears. Heron and ducks, fairy wren and swan, and you must visit Brushy Creek before it's all gone. The bird song like music enlivens the ears. There's no worries, no care, no anger, nor fears. There's golden water, snow gums, and the old yellow box. Hot tea on the fire, front doors without locks. At night you'll hear the hoot of an owl When seasons change, winds start to howl. Those who stayed long will all live very old, the adventurous kind whose spirits are bold. The bushies of Brushy Creek are tough, the water flowing over the rocks is rough, but the water is clean, pristine and clear. Some bushies have lived here for many a year. When westerly winds blow, you'll want to leave, blowing day after day with little reprieve. If you come for a night to old Brushy Creek, it's rare that you'll last more than a week.
Very, very
Mark, do you want to read something?
I have to, James, because I'll get all nervous if I don't do it now.
All right. Let's go.
Yeah, that's it.
I used to know who owned the property, but I can't be
Can't page 1, but we'll get there.
Yeah, he's alive.
Okay. This piece hasn't turned out as I thought it was going to. I had a particular tune I was going to.
It looks like you made a big mistake and you're trying to throw it away.
Exactly.
It's
I'll go rather using it for don't take later this evening. Okay, it's called Everyone Gets a Spray. We didn't start the fire, but geez, we're bloody well fueling it. I can't bore your right to be who you are. Mm-hmm. You think you're a wit, you're as ignorant as shit. I'm a climate and corruption refugee. Open your eyes, come on a trip with me. Believe in the system? Oh, of course, mate. It'll work. Follow the process. Guess who got 8? I'm from Queensland, let's go on a journey.
This is right.
It rarely hits 30. Gosh, mate, you've never seen my spring go turkey. How bloody hot does this fatty feel? Just ask me. Go on. The heat up there's unreal. The temperature is climbing to levels not seen. Hey, ScoMo, where are you? I'm in Waikiki. We love you, PM. Where would we be? Your wisdom here fuels my naivety.
Oh, yeah.
Terrorism. God, I'm scared to death. Smoke that man. ScoMo with your deadly breath. Give me the Old Testament. I'll make a sacrifice. Join Hillsong forever with that holy writ. You'll soon know what it's meant. Now, word's got around, I've certainly spread it myself, trying to rustle up some action. Guyra and Army are stacked with puffs 3 deep on the shelf. I'm scared again. He'll molest me for sure. This place has gone to the dogs. We have puffers.
Galore.
Drag queens are flaunting it. Oh God, where are we? Watch out. That little number hubby might just fit. So drag queens are flaunting it. Watch out. That little number might just fit. Challenge your perceptions. Well, I've got to be the poorest dressed homo you will ever see. No prejudgment. We should make our specialty. He's guilty. It's filth. No, it ain't, honey. I'm a homosexual. And though you may not realise it, poof doesn't rhyme with pedophile. We all know it deep in our hearts. And you need the will to open it. Look in your backyard. Look at the timid, the unhappy, the bullies, the children who are torn. This stuff comes from us. It spreads like pollen. Children bear the scars. Take some time to observe. The behaviour may be a sign. Don't overlook or ignore. I'm not finished yet, you poor buggers. Take it from me. Our people show little interest in this matter. But you don't need to tell us here, the system is not what we could make it to be. But don't we all need to acknowledge what some are too dull to see? Children. We have to make it work. Our future, you see. Progress is a tricky art. Cliche warning, cliche warning. Science has no beliefs. There's no place for opinions. It's observed by all means, whatever they may be. Use microscopes, stethoscopes, use every possible device. Collect data with your eyes, your ears, touch and sight, and record it faithfully. Then organise it, shuffle it, reorganise it till your head screams in a vice. Analyse the info. That data needs to be read. Analyse again, reorganise, but don't form a theory just yet. Look for patterns, critical thought. I think I may see a correlation, then develop a hypothesis. It may create a circumlocution. Just don't form an opinion. They're instant and cheap. They loudly rattle and, like a virus, may harm you or be fatal. A hypothesis is it. It may come a cropper. Science is messy and frequently wrong. I'm seeking a hypothesis that explains what I've observed. I may have to chuck it or maybe tweak its important bit, but don't you substitute an opinion because I will run from it.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ray.
Well, it started at 1 and then you just lost me.
That's the prose poetry conundrum at work.
This is something that really doesn't apply to many of the people in this room. In fact, probably no one. Because I wrote this, but I didn't really apply to a lot of people in Nimbin. It's called The Daily Commute.
And we've all escaped.
The daily commute, same road every day, driving 5 days a week just to get paid, sitting in traffic, leave early, late, home, SUV by myself and the radio drones. Pull into BP, fries and coffee from Macca's. The daily commuters making me crackers in a long line of traffic, a part of the herd to a dormitory suburb, a battery caged bird, cows in a feedlot, mass media program, fed news propaganda. This is life in Stockland, slave day is over, time to go home. Surrounded by traffic in your car, all alone. Consumer capitalism makes you slave in your life, miss your kids' sport and too tired for your wife, stuck in traffic, okay. Ignore the frustration because you're good for the economy, GDP of the nation. I can't wait to get home, have a glass of red wine. Fuck me, I'm only out exit 69. The traffic has slowed down to a crawl. Sorry, I'll be too late to watch Johnny's football. I'm looking for a job close to home with good pay. I need to get out of this rat race today. This daily commute is still in my head. When I get home, I just want to go to bed. 20 hours commute just to survive. Little wonder I can get ahead. Why I never thrive. Daily commute, same road every day, driving 5 days a week just to get paid. Sitting in home, leave traffic late home in an SUV, buy myself a radio drone. Daily commute is making me crackers in a long line of traffic.
Very good.
Someone else want to go up that? I got to go and like breathe into that. Out of that. What effort. I'll put my suit on for the commute today, see?
Yeah, very sweet.
Yeah. Okay, Patricia Esplin, everyone. Patricia Esplin. Come on.
short poem by Spike Milligan, born in India, of Irish and British parents. Smiling. Smiling is infectious. You catch it like the flu. When someone smiled at me today, I started smiling too. I passed around the corner and someone saw my grin. When he smiled, I realised I'd passed it on to him. I thought about that smile, then I realised its worth. A single smile, just like mine, could travel round the earth. So if you feel a smile begin, don't leave it undetected. Let's start an epidemic quick and get the world infected.
Spike Milligan's parents lived in Wirogiree, so he was a kind of a part-time Australian. He spent a lot of time out here. And very recently he's very fastidious with keeping his poetry all organised and all his art and that, and he kept it all in boxes and files. They found box 17, which had never been opened, and published a book of his poetry and stuff. This was probably about 4 or 5 years ago now. Yeah, but I had him read to me as a kid too. He was very funny. I love him. Today I saw a little worm wriggling on its belly. Perhaps he'd like to come inside and see what's on the telly. That was one of Spike Milligan's. Yeah.
One of the goons, wasn't he? Wasn't he one of the goons?
He was one of the goons.
Yeah. He was also had a big part of life of Brian.
Yes, he did.
No, I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. Standing up there in the torture chamber.
Yeah. Steve, would you like to do some stuff? Or Roger? Steve, all right.
Yeah. Why not?
James, I brought one in tonight too, by the way.
Excellent, all right. Right, that's
No
something.
next to him doing his stuff. I won't interrupt him, he's better than what I am, so. Just, I won't interrupt him.
Try and get through here. It's a bit challenging, but we're on the way.
Yeah,
That was a real performance.
Hello everybody there in Facebook land, it's really good to be here. It's good to be at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. It's always a wonderful be here with my brothers and sisters doing poetry and music and having a good time. Sometimes the poetry gets a little bit, should I say, on the line, but that's okay, you know. That's okay, that's what poets about, you know. People speak poetry because it's within you, you know. What is poetry? It's thoughts written down, and when we start writing our thoughts down and they come into rhymes, or sometimes they don't come into rhymes at all, but they're just there, and we just speak about it and we talk about it because you know, all people alive have some talent. From where it comes, it's not known. Some sing and dance or act out romance. It's a part of your life, like a poem. When telling a joke is your forte, or telling the humour of life, or painting a beautiful landscape, or serenading the friends in your life. Yes, talent's a part of our makeup. It becomes natural in the things that we do. Not always in the things expected. Not always in the things that we choose. See, when we open up our eyes to realise the real lies and realise the real lies, there's plenty of real lies in life. But if we start walking in the truth and we follow our heart, not our head, because one of the things that we've done in the past has been this academic brilliance of following our heads. But when we come into a time which is a new time, we're coming into a new time, a new paradigm shift, when the carbon-based people become silicon-based or crystal-based. As in Christos, right? Christos. We're in a crystal-based time when we move into the fifth dimension. All the time we walk day by day. Our trip and our journeys are long, and they come in many ways, and we have many, many lessons. And if we learn the lessons of life teach us to walk in many ways, but the main thing that we have to do is we have to learn the lessons that we have to do. Sometimes there's an old saying, sometimes it's an Aussie saying, sometimes people have to piss on the electric fence before they realise, You know, you can tell people about things, but it's cognitive dissonance that keeps people from understanding, because we have been manufactured in a way, we are being robotic in our terminology and what have been taught us, and sometimes we have to be ready for change, because we're in a point of change, and change is a thing that we all have, because it's the only thing that's constant is change. The only thing that's constant is change. I tell lots of stories, and some of them are humorous and some of them are not. I was up at the Tenterfield a while ago, and I used to be the cobbler there, and you know, people sort of used to bring shoes into you, and you'd sort of fix these shoes and repair them, or you'd be climbing a chimney and cleaning a chimney, because I've always decided that the work that was necessary was the work that everybody else wouldn't do. And when you do that work that other people don't do, and you are the gap filler in a situation, and you become the Sellies of the situation and filling gaps, well, then you learn all sorts of interesting little trades. Yeah, I was the cobbler, and I, with a fella called Brian Meldrum, we came up with an idea to have the oracles of the bush. And when I wrote the poem or the story of the icon that I realised was very important, and everybody has one, I thought I'd better write one. You know, my younger brother said, oracles of the bush sounds like orifice of the bush. See, I was brought up in the country in a place called Wedderburn, on the side of the Georges River, with the stags and the elks and the ferns. There wasn't many luxuries, no, things weren't very plush, but we had a long drop dunny called the orifice of the bush. There's one thing that I know for sure, and I spent a lot of time just doodling in the dirt there, and I even wrote some rhyme, a place to fantasise and figure out. But everything was true. A hideout from the washing up like young lads often do. I'd always lift the lid up to avoid a bit of fright, to eradicate the chances of the dreaded redback bite. Like mum's old chook, I'd settle in with me pants around me knees, to the sound of the neighbour's rampant bull and fruit bats in the trees. Like a medieval king, I'd sit upon his gilded throne, my favourite place, I must admit, in our lovely country home. Yes, I'm a connoisseur of dunnies, of this it is a fact. A place to try, a place to check, before I hang my hat. I remember when I left the bush in a council house in town, there was an outhouse out the back, yeah, a place to settle down. It wasn't quiet as our country home, but it had all the mods and cons. Running water, electric light, and an oven to cook scones. I'd only been there a week, I think, when I awoke with an awful fright. There was a shadow past the window in the middle of the night. I'd heard about these prowlers and their low-down thieving tricks, but they'd taken on the wrong bloke this time, this lad from out the sticks. Well, I hit the floor a run, and there wasn't time to put on clothes. I'll get that flaming larrikin and I'll probably break his nose. Through the front door quietly, the blood was pumping fast. I'd stop him at the gate, I thought, as the bare feet hit the grass. He was running up the footpath with his booty on his back. I'd played rugby in my school days, and I'd stop him in his track. Well, I hit him round the ankles, and he had nowhere to go. Yeah, I dropped him like a dunny lid, and all he said was, "No!" The smell was something awful. I'd never live it down. I'd nailed the poor old dunny man, and I dropped him on the ground. There was excretion all across the grass and right across the road. The lid had left the dunny can, and he dropped the flaming load. Well, throughout my years of wandering, I think I've tried the lot. There's the environmental sound ones, there's flush lavatories, and there's pots. There's collectors of pubs, of pins, of bottle stamps and plants. But I'm the international, no, universal secretary of the place you drop your pants. I've tested loos across this land, and I've tried the loos abroad. There's the ones you pull the chain on, there's authentic ones, and there's frauds, but there's nothing in comparison when you have to strain and push as a good old Aussie dunny and the orifice of the bush. always people come and tell a tale, eh? You know, there's plenty of tales to be told, and we've got some beautiful poets here tonight telling different stories of things that move their understanding, move their viewpoint, a picture of animals, a picture of stories of what we do. But you know, it's really good to be able to come here on a Wednesday night, open mic at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame, sorry, James. And you know, if we could encourage more of the local people, which would be fine. But the group that's here are fabulous, and really look forward to enjoying some really good poetry. And we'll come back later on tonight. Thank you.
At that interlude, I'd just like to mention tomorrow night is the Guyra Film Society's annual general meeting, which commences at what time, James?
6:30. 6.
Six.
Is that the stage?
Oh.
6 o'clock. So come on, guys. We need your support. Guyra Film Society.
Oh, what you got?
Half a mermaid.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Half a mermaid.
Half a mermaid.
Half.
In a
Oh,
shark.
the other half.
No, mate, the shark ate it. We're in Seahorse Medicine Cafe.
Oh, right, so you're going to fix it up.
No, somebody ordered a mermaid juice.
Oh, mate.
I know. I think I'd like a mermaid juice. Hang on, I'll start that again. I think I'd like a mermaid juice, the great white shark said. So she blended up a mermaid, and the mermaid juice was red. I was feeling pretty funny because I ate a clown, but mermaid juices fixed my tummy since I drank it down. Now I've had my mermaid juice, I want some toast and cheese, but I can't leave the water. Can you call Uber, please? I'd really like a sandwich on some bread that's brown. I love Uber Eats when they bring food down. Thanks for bringing my food, but I'm not a fan of bread. Great white shark opened up her mouth and bit off the Uber driver's head. Great white shark was happy with good food in her tummy. She opened up her mouth and said, "Mermaid juice is yummy. One more thing," the shark said, "I want a bit more to eat." So she called the cops and ate some raw police meat. All right, Wirogiree, welcome. Get rid of me, mermaid.
Hey, it's all on. Hope you had a busy week. I've done this painting just the other week, and it's of a koala bear. It's one of my first pieces of work of art that I've done, koala bear. I was thinking, what story am I going to come up with? So, being inspired by the Poetry Hall of Fame, I decided to do the story as a poem. And it goes, Ted the Koala. Ted the Koala climbed high in the trees to escape the flames and have a place to breathe. As the flames got higher and burnt their gum leaves, Ted's life was in jeopardy of being in need. The people of the land saw a life that was gone, and all came together as the bushland was gone. They realised the destruction of Ted's home was impeded with the conservation and preservation of Mother Nature's seeds. 60,000 years of preserving the bush, the teachings of the land, the conservation push to all come together to live in this land, with a connection of loving and caring again.
Would you like to have? Oh,
Yeah,
no, you're still going. Cool.
Okay, this is a poem inspired by friends, and I've got plenty of them here while being in Guyra. So this came to me the other day, and I wrote it down. So, in this life, what is always in need is a closer connection with brothers indeed. Friends are forever. I have begun to see that true fact of life is what we all heed. Having them close and having them here warms my spirit and gets rid of the fear. To create a better world for us to share is a wonderful concept I'm willing to bear. Journeys of beauty, journeys of life, journeys to wonder, journeys of strife. Lessons are learned, souls, spirits will flee. Back to creation times is where we should be. Okay, talk about creation. There's another one of creation. A life of creation, a life that should be, a life that's worth living is all that we need. In tough times of hardships, we stand all as one to show our creation to the Almighty One. God isn't a white man who sits on a chair, up a wall above us, not willing to share. We are all the creation of this earth alone, our light and our universe, a massive big home. We create a space that should be, a place of connecting back to the trees. That gives us the air for everyone to breathe, that gives us homes and places of need. So now that we realise our punctuous greed, we can change this world with just one deed.
Terrific.
Well,
I get that.
all right, I'm going to invite Christopher Esplin up. Come on up, Chris.
Roald Dahl.
Natural philosophy is natural.
Well, tonight I don't have. Sorry. Well, tonight I don't quite have a Roald Dahl album form just yet. Something I thought was something I thought was really powerful was this one poem from the fifth book of Harry Potter in the Sorting Hat's introduction for the opening ceremony at Hogwarts. In most of the books, the Sorting Hat was used as a way to gently and kindly introduce the nervous first year students into the world and give them some information about the four founders of the school and how they were able to all come together and make this place of learning and education. But in the fifth book of Harry Potter, it's not entirely a pleasant time. There's been the return of this evil wizard Voldemort, and despite everything everyone is saying, the Ministry are all coming together and outright denying it, and not allowing any discourse or feedback from the other side, because they're so scared of what his return would mean. But the Sorting Hat doesn't do that. The Sorting Hat knows that this is an important time and that the students are in danger and they have to be prepared for what is going to come. In times of old, when I was new and Hogwarts barely started, the founders of our noble school thought never to be parted. United by a common goal, they had the self-same yearning to make the world's best magic school and pass along their yearning. Together we will build and teach, the four good friends decided, and never did they dream that they might someday be divided. For were there such friends anywhere as Slytherin and Gryffindor, unless it was the second pair of Hufflepuff and Ravenclaw? So how could it have gone so wrong? How could such friendships fail? Why, I was there, so I can tell this whole sad, sorry tale. Said Slytherin, we'll teach just those whose ancestry is purest. Said Ravenclaw, we'll teach those whose intelligence is surest. Said Gryffindor, we'll teach all those with brave deeds to their name. Said Hufflepuff, I'll teach the lot and treat them just the same. These differences caused little strife when first they came to light, for each of the four founders had a house in which they might take only those they wanted. So, for instance, Slytherin took only the pure-blood wizards take only those they wanted. So, for instance, Slytherin took only the pure-blood wizards of great cunning, just like him. And only those of sharpest mind were taught by Ravenclaw, while the bravest and the boldest went to daring Gryffindor. Good Hufflepuff, she took the rest and taught them all she knew. Thus the houses and their founders maintained friendships firm and true. So Hogwarts worked in harmony for several happy years. But then discord crept among us, feeding on our faults and fears. The houses that, like pillars four, had once held up our school, now turned upon each other, and divided sought to rule. And for a while it seemed the school must make an early end, what with duelling and with fighting, and the clash of friend on friend. And at last there came a morning when old Slytherin departed, and though the fighting then died out, he left us quite downhearted. And never since the founders four were whittled down to three, have the houses been united as they once were meant to be. And now the sorting hat is here, and you all know the score. I sort you into houses, because that is what I'm for. But this year I'll go further, listen closely to my song. Though condemned I am to split you, still I worry that it's wrong. Though I must fulfill my duty, and must quarter every year, still I wonder whether sorting may not be the end, I fear. May not bring the end, I fear. I'll know the perils, read the signs, the warning history shows, for our Hogwarts is in danger from external deadly foes. And we must unite within her, or will crumble from within. I have told you, I have warned you, let the sorting now begin.
Yeah, hello. Gladys Wilson. Okay. Next, come on up.
Gladys, 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 Gladys.
Find something here in my bag of tricks. I'll get past you, mate. Over here.
Careful. Andy works like that around, Gladys.
Right, because I can't see with that there. Even it's short. At least I can work with phone. Well, good evening, everyone. It's lovely to be back here again at the Australian Poetry Hall of Fame. Nice to be back with all my friends again. Anyway, I wrote this one a while back, and it's called The Drover's Curse. I'm one of many drovers that's country born and bred, out here mustering cattle on this 2,000-acre spread. Now the sweeping hills surrounding me, a curse as some would say, but many myths and legends still remain to this very day. Though at night sometimes wonder, but my thoughts I dare not push, as you dream about those mysteries in the outback and spirits of the bush. With his swag rolled out by the campfire, the drover knows only too well the sound of a cracking stocknet and the ringing from a bullock bell. There's bullocks in the rugged bushland, though, that would make your blood run cold, feared by many stockmen way back from days of old. Saddling up my stock horse, and still looking back on those years with pride, as the faithful blue cattle dogs follow me, wherever I may ride. From brigalow and saltbush to the burning desert sand, I've learnt to face hardships on this unforgiving land. But with the heat, dust and flies, of course, nothing could be worse, and hope one day there'll be an end to the drover's curse. Thank you, James, and thank you, the young man over there, wonderful poetry. He's going to go a long way, I'm sure. Okay, well anyway, guys, now what have you got poetry, have you, mate?
Yeah.
Excellent.
All right, Ashley.
I like to follow that because my mum's dad used to do the run with cattle and horses from Bathurst to the Gulf country, and then do the run, if you can call it a run, back from the Gulf to Bathurst. For many years he did that, and one would say that that's a lot of saddle. So he was in the tradition of Gladys and Guyra people, I would think. My mum's family were very top horsemen and horsewomen. Last week I mentioned this great poet from Australasia, James K. Baxter, and his shadow crossed my breakfast table this week. I said to my great friend George Mills from Bundaraway, who's a Pacific businessman now. How are you going? And we got chatting, and he said, oh, when I went to New Zealand, I took my mum to the commune at Wanganui, and I looked at him and I said, you don't mean James K. Baxter's alternative commune up the Wanganui? And he said, yes. So Australians many, many years ago knew about this bloke, and there was James taking his dear mum to see Baxter's shadow at the commune. That would be nearly 50 years back. So I'll just pick one serendipitously from this big book, and then a couple of my own works. I did smile when George said to me, oh, when we were in New Zealand with my mum, I took her to the commune, and I knew instantly it was Baxter's commune. I'll find bear with me while I find my glasses. I never met Baxter, but I've met a number of people over the years who went to that commune and who knew him. So let's see what we pick up from him today. Open Sesame. The Muse. The city spreads her nets. I must say this has the tone already of something in line with James Warren's Muse. The Muse, to Louis Johnson. The city spreads her nets. I'm out of it. Neither hot nor cold. A molting parrot the Muse won't visit. Dried washing seems to flap round my ears. But sipping tonic water in the Shamrock bar this Friday, one shape I saw, a drunk with unlaced shoe, rope of the hangman's vomit on his lip. And he made exit up McLagan Street to where a woman in a sack or shroud suffered the clouting winter of the town. Too solid for the worm's hegemony on a foul green painted balcony. He must be talking about a salubrious tropical afternoon in Dunedin. Sure, I shouldn't be here adding to Baxter. Sorry, James. And she to him said, husband, liar, drone, what scissor cut the cord and brought you home? Has the pub burnt down? I think, Johnson, it was the Muse whom you and I unhinged by our civility. Well, I don't understand that poem, but it was fun reading it. I presume that's an echo from his time as a dissolute student and seer near the sea at Dunedin, down near the Pentagon or Octagon or whatever it is where all the streets meet in a octagon, I think it is. So I sat and wrote this a minute ago. It cheered me. It cheered me. Stone the crows are gone. The stones into sand are one. Lightning blasts that so nigh beach, gouts of glass within our reach. We lie and meditate on land. Stone the crows. Stone the crows. So, lightning gets going tonight. I wrote this sitting out near the railway line, and the central moment of it is a pillar of lightning, which I bloody saw at Guyra. All my life I've wanted to see a sharp blast of this. I'd read about it in books and poetry all my life, and sure enough, at Guyra, I finally saw it, and this relates to our great musician friend at the Lamb and Potato Festival, and it relates to Gladys too. It actually happened, and this is it. It's a sort of a story. What can I do with my life? A few words here and there. Sit in my rueful white bubble car gets, press plastic buttons as I look towards the defunct Guyra Railway, feeling guilty I'm not in an Aussie chariot. But what will guilt do for me or for you? I want Australian development and products too, and I want to cash in on the top technos of Asia, their economics of scale and cheap prices. I'm in a double bind, aren't I? Let's hope I can keep binding. Good place for goats, Guyra. Nothing wrong with goats. I think, as I look out into the gloomy sky, as I turn off the car heater and towards the north-south traffic and think of my muso ex-schoolmaster friend who dropped by a twister. Gladys was there, sadly, during this poem. Who dropped by a twister and the whole mutton and lamb festival tent, seeking aloftness with him as he turned just before to the swishing sound, and saw across the tracks to his west a wall of ivory froth, moving like caterpillar tread, and it was spinning towards him, and he thought, that's funny, didn't he? He rose into life, hospitalised days later, his body peeled from the ground, popped next to the 2-ton concrete sheep sculpture, sentinel over the aforementioned north-south tableland highway, where he did meet his maker and was given the dispensation to keep on, fortunately, meeting him. And as that storm, I recall, shortly after driving south to Armidale, a jag of electric purple silver, racking the sky to my southwest. I had heard of the purple silver bolt, wondered, but knew now nigh to it. Hallelujah! Soundtrack and visuals to the pillar of tumbling froth, carrying festival tent and muso high towards the roadwork. After I look it up in my anthology of Victor Hugo, I can quote his last line, Victor Hugo's last line, which seems very apt to this exposition. He gives a classy end to his colloquy. This poem, c'est ici le combat de jour et de la nuit. It is the struggle between day and night. C'est ici le combat de jour et de la nuit. I have a letter to read from John No and Baz, so I'll read that and finish for the evening. It's very plaintive. John No and Baz have been discussing lately. I've gone walking with them out to Mount Duval, and they've been discussing how to increase tourism and industry on the New England. And they wrote me this letter from our peregrinations, and I will read it forthwith, or it will read me. I'm not quite sure which. Mr. Albanese, please read this letter from John Owen Baz at your August Poets Gathering, Guyra Australian Poets Hall of Fame, and infamy too, I hope, honouring those who could not come and could not speak. This is my 5th note to you. You kindly read letter 4 to your auditors, so this August collection of thoughts comes late, nigh to September. I plan to write 13,824 letters to you over time. Me and Bass have something to say. So those who bear their lives amongst the snow gums and granite cold grey-green lichens looming of the bouldered tableland will hear our voice, commune with our thoughts. We will, in our explorationings, do something towards poetry too, we hope. Spaz and I have a passion for ink and paper, even pencil, and an idea basic to us, Mr. Albanese, is that every epistle, looked it up, should say epistle we post, stimulates the economy of the New England tables, and particularly, beautiful word, lolly, particularly. He got carried away there. I will read what he said though. Particularly, we take thrill as we write, fold and post at the mailbox slot, thence workers bag up our calligraphicalings and travel them to Coffs Harbour or Sydney Town or Newcastle to be brought back to Armidale, so that you, Mr. Albanese, may read this to your gathered throng, and this is stimulating economic activity, keeping a postman posting, whence their way, if facilitated up into the northern snowlands, these epistles. Sometimes snowlands sounds romantic, doesn't it? Sometimes snowlands. Baz and I are into the romantic big time. No time, all time. Indeed, as we wander down Beatty Street, Baz often says to me, Jono, likes to say Jono. Bit denigrating for me as a man, isn't it? Which time do you like? Go on, Jono. Name your time. Well, now to the point, if point there can be to this. Mr. Albanese wrote back to me saying, there was a certain baroque effulgence to our correspondence. Well, broke indulgence, or me or not. I must reach the point to this salute to you and yours. I can't buggerise around like this at the Poets' Hall of Fame. We wish Baz and I to make a proposal for the tourist industry and the development of culture and industry and economy on the tableland. First, I wish to show you the imaging of this proposal. And he said to do this, just to hold a great white sheet up to the camera. Well, Dave, you can see that. Draw your own conclusions. I don't think it's an image of that concussion when they've been out drinking, because I never go with them down Beatty Street when they've been drinking.
It's a Skyline policy.
So, we wish Baz and I to make a proposal. First, I wish to show you the imaging of this proposal. That's it, I showed you that. Baz calls it imaging, but picture will do, or drawing. We both believe truly cosmic development of Northern Tableland's industry and consciousness. Both industry and consciousness go together, don't you think? He thought that Gladys would like that comment. Industry and consciousness go together. They are a gestaltic combo. Now, while frame aloft, this, if you look closely, is the essence of it, Mr. Albanese. You need to show this clearly, to the digesters, to the auditors. Baz likes to call readers, viewers, audience, digesters. He's big on the conceptualizations. So, dear digesters, we're coming to the end of the letter now. A man has come in to be digested. Dear digesters, here is my concept. You see before you the first module of the Armadale Dirigible Tourist Association. That's the dirigible floating white over the table. Yes, this is the first mock-up model. We won't stress the word mock. You are seeing the first module of the Dirigible Tourist Association. You mean hot air balloon as hotel sort of thing? Yes, I do, Jono. It's our new concept for floating over. Excuse me, I'm so overpowered by the visionary splendour of the lightness going aloft. It's our new concept for floating holes over New England. I've already particularly key headline grabs for smartphone and sundry TV bourgeois info naps early evening before the screen. You can love the word bourgeoisie, does Bazzy. When I ask him the meaning, we're both left gazing into space. I ask him, I say, what's bourgeoisie mean? You're always using that word. It's an icon, it's a logo, Jono, like an old comfy armchair one can embrace within its ample hold, remembering sunsets, the coming dawns and the yawns too. I always say to Bazzo, the yawns too? How he loves that. A big broad smile crosses his face. Don't forget the yawns. He's very rad, is our Baz. So there you have it. Be seen soon. They will be. These Moby Dick-like flying hotels. These white conveyances above the granite, hovering the curious traveller over disused Chinese mining channels out Inverell Way. And we can see Kamilaroi corroboree sites from a long time ago, 1870. We can come across Piney wagon tracks, the 1941 tank traps, set to embroil the sons, but not the daughters, of Broome Japanese pearl divers in their assault upon our Aussie Terra Australis. So he got really wound up at this point, and I had trouble deciphering his cogitation. Baz instructed me to delineate his Armadale dirigible company's views and program for dealing with pollution, 1, global warming, increased storm damage and transport congestion from the cities as the masses teem out into our province. First, Baz exhorts us, and by the by, tonight I'm taking investment potential and money from you folks to come on board and go on the first float from here to... Excuse me, I'm so taken with this project. I want to be on the first float from here to here to Moree and piss on the cotton crops. That's my obsession. So, as we go over, from the cities as they team out in the provinces. Coming to the end, first, Baz exhorts us, he does, to create a new set of drones that can leave the mothership and show the expectant traveller what peregrinations await the sightseer, where he puts sightseer, well, we're here amongst poets, on their day's adventures. So he exhorts us to develop our own dirigible system that we can send out from the mothership just to keep us scouted about and secure. Second, he calls for cave contracts. Earth movers can come on board our project. They can create large protected dells in the side of mountains or underneath slight swellings of contour at set distances apart, so our flying floaties can safely anchor and be protected from the stormy tempests. In a world of climate change, we can suddenly, with new computer animation and electronics, take our ships into safe harbour. He believes more of these would be expected, the violent storms. So one must build like flood levees for a farmer down on the coast, where they're going to be streaming up underwater pressure to us. Yes, these protective cabins to protect the burgeoning of our new industry. So that if you give your hard-earned money towards this project tonight, you can be assured that Bazo has already thought through the cabins, where they're to be built, spaced apart, like posts on a football field, where the dirigibles can be taken in inclement weather. So you wonderful shareholders do not lose your money. It was a long discussion there. Coming to the end, Baz and I are visionaries and proactive thinkers. We think. Do you think? Third, a special force of specialists needs to be created post-haste to organise the steps, the particularities of this far-sightedness. Yes, we need more nests. He put a big circle around nests, and I think we do need more nests. A training school can be built which will template the aeronautic skills of the per Astra ever upwards, Astra upping generations. Baz and I take pleasure in announcing this project this evening, the opening of our company negotiations, in the classic proportions and quiet splendour of the Guyra Australian Poets Hall of Fame. May responders join us in flights to come, hovering over Mount Capitar, close enough to hear the thermals, heaving the wedge-tailed aloft. As always, but, and he's got a big stroke through but and put end, so I'll be true to his heart. As always, and sometimes, Jono, Ono and Baz.
All right, I'll be out.
Baz, oh, he's in the floating.
Chris, have you got another one to do?
Poor old Baz.
Yeah, oh, okay, all right.
Visionary amongst.
Can I get past you there, Mark?
Ah, yes.
Yeah, sorry. I'll try to be slimmer next week.
I'll turn it the other way.
So I'm taking investment monies tonight.
Okay, this poem is called If by Rudyard Kipling. If you can keep your head when all about you are losing theirs and blaming it on you. If you can trust yourself when all men doubt you, but make allowance for their doubting too. If you can wait and not be tired by waiting, or being lied about, don't deal in lies, or being hated, don't give way to hating. And yet, don't look too good, nor talk too wise. If you can dream and not make dreams your master, if you can think and not make thought your aim, if you can meet with triumph and disaster, and treat those two impostors just the same, if you can bear to hear the truth you've spoken, twisted by knaves to make a trap for fools, or watch the things you gave your life to broken, and stoop and build them up with worn-out tools. If you can make one heap of all your winnings and risk it on one turn of pitch and toss, and lose and start and again at your beginnings, and never breathe a word about your loss. If you can force your heart and nerve and sinew to serve your turn long after they are gone, and so hold on when there is nothing in you except the will which says to them, hold on. If you can talk with crowds and keep your virtue, or walk with kings, nor lose their common touch, if neither foes nor loving friends can hurt you, if all men count with you, but none too much, if you can fill the unforgiving minute with 60 seconds worth of distant run, yours is the earth and everything that's in it, and which is more, you'll be a man, my son.
And of course, Rudyard Kipling's only son died on the battlefields of Belgium or France. So he was heartbroken.
He had a lot of fun with the girls in Yokohama. Good Christian, Mr. Kipling. He did, actually.
Is that an assumption we use?
No, he did.
Oh, thank you
read the
very much.
diaries of people.
I'm always worried about
And actually, your mate Jono, I love what he writes.
Sorry?
Your mate Jono, I love it.
I'll ask him to shorten his
Yeah.
letters, though.
Oh God, no! No, don't shorten them. Like them.
I was
They're
a bit concerned about the way he's obsessed with particularly lolly. But I did feel I should express that.
No.
Virgin.
It's quite.
Yeah, well, he's got how many thousand more to go? 383 yet to come, I think.
Right.
We'll have fun. We can be on the super pension when he says his last words.
Screw the marriage of life.
And someone else, just before we go on, anyone else want to do some more?
We can all be here with Alzheimer's.
Oh, come on, Chris. Have you got a Roald Dahl?
I've got one anyway.
Come on, Chris.
This is a mixed up monkey. Is the short title of this one. I'm going to do mixed up monkey. Short title. The long
I
title
remember this.
is a non-binary ex-Catholic lesbian trans monkey.
Did Roald Dahl write this?
No, this is one I wrote. I'll just repeat that again. Non-binary ex-Catholic lesbian trans monkey. A monkey from Japan was sitting in a spa and wondered out aloud, can a monkey drive a car? Can I become a lesbian if I'm a monkey man? Or convert to Catholicism, said a monkey from Japan. Jesus died for all men's sins, so he must have died for us. Humans are all monkey aliens. Gender bending's not a fuss. A monkey is a man, and I'll get a gender change. Be a monkey kind of trans, become a little bit strange. If I find another transgender monkey, a female, once a man, get married in the Catholic Church, said the monkey from Japan. So monkey got his balls cut off and dressed in the cardinal's robe and said, do you like my new dress, my human lesbian monkey clothes? Now I can be a Catholic lesbian monkey trans because Jesus died for all our sins, said a monkey from Japan. It found another monkey who had the same idea, got married on a Sunday, special kind of queer. The priest blessed both the monkeys and he wished them well. He said, stay away from children, don't be like George Powell. Excommunicate me, I'll be a monkey, not a man. Give me a divorce, said the monkey from Japan. All these crazy labels are messing with my head. I just want to be a monkey man, not a Catholic lesbian, he said. Jesus didn't know me, so he can't have died for me. I just want to be a male monkey with a banana in a tree. Jesus wasn't the son of God, he was just a man. God doesn't even exist, said the monkey from Japan. The Bible was written by men and it's half full of lies, so pedophiles can dress in robes just as part of their disguise. Oh, I don't want to be a Catholic lesbian monkey trans. I'll just sit in a volcanic spa, said the monkey from Japan. And I don't want a car, so happy I'll be a monkey in a spa with a banana and a tree. Thank you.
come up on your computer. There's a story to this. When I woke up this morning, I pressed a button and up popped this puff. I don't know why.
Does it
This
say,
poem of W.H. Auden.
Does that say the
Yeah,
warm, loving one?
yeah, it'll come up on your computer if you want it on computer format.
Okay.
But this came up and I read it, and I thought, why did I miss this? It's, I think, a poem of wonder, actually, that will suit James' voice. It's a good poem, this
I
one.
loved your poem.
You'll like it.
And I
And I thought I'll read that tonight. Do you know that poem? I didn't know it. It's one about your stars. Oh, this is a marvelous
I'll
poem.
read it real quick through, but first do one more.
I just thought it was a marvellous poem, James. I thought, wow, how strange. I just pressed a button and it popped up in my dawn peregrination.
Get that bloody purse and start rustling through it.
Come
Come on, let's get something happening here. Let's get something
Come
happening
on,
here.
come on. Roald Dahl, Roald Dahl, Roald Dahl. Come on, Chris.
It turned out I just happened to have a Roald Dahl poem tucked away in my phone on the internet. And this one is again from Revolting Rhymes, and it is called Cinderella. I guess you think you know this story. You don't. The real one's much more gory. The phony one, the one you know, was cooked up years and years ago, and made to sound all soft and sappy, just to keep the children happy. Mind you, they got the first bit right. The bit where, in the dead of night, the ugly sisters, Jules and all, departed from the royal ball, while darling little Cinderella was locked up in a slimy cellar, where Vassia wanted things to eat, began to nibble at her feet. She bellowed, "Help and let me out!" The magic fairy heard her shout, appearing in a blaze of light. She said, "My dear, are you all right?" "All right," cried Cindy. "Can't you see? I feel as rotten as can be." She beat her fist against the wall and shouted, "Get me to the ball! There is a disco at the palace. The rest have gone and I am jealous. I want a dress, I want a coat, and earrings and a diamond brooch. And silver slippers, 2 of those, and lovely nylon pantyhose. Done up like that, I'll guarantee the handsome prince will fall for me." The fairy said, "Hang on a tick." She gave her wand a mighty flick, and quickly, in no time at all, Cindy was at the palace ball. It made the ugly sisters wince to see her dancing with the prince. She held him very tight and pressed herself against his manly chest. The prince himself was turned to pulp. All he could do was gasp and gulp. Then midnight struck. She shouted, "Heck! I've got to run and save my neck!" The prince cried, "No, alas, alack!" He grabbed her dress to hold her back. Then Cindy shouted, "Let me go!" The dress was ripped from head to toe. She ran out in her underwear and lost one slipper on the stair. The prince was on it like a dart. He pressed it to its pounding heart. "The girl this slipper fits," he cried. "Tomorrow morn shall be my bride. I'll visit every house in town now till I've tracked that maiden down." Then, rather carelessly, I fear, he placed it on a crate of beer. At once one of the ugly sisters, the one whose face was blotched with... At once one of the ugly sisters, the one whose face was blotched with... This is a horrible way of saying this. At once one of the ugly sisters, the one whose face was blotched in blisters, sneaked up and grabbed the dainty shoe and quickly flushed it down the loo. Then in its place she calmly put the slipper from her own left foot. Aha, you see the plot goes thicker, as Cindy's luck starts looking sicker. Next day the prince went shouting down to knock on all the girls in town. To knock on all the doors in town.
Nothing changes, does it? Nothing changes. Carry on, Chris.
I took a shot and I'm like, no, it's not right. Oh gosh. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay.
Finish it, man.
I need to. Oh, hang on, how's it going? Okay.
Start again.
So I'm trying to fill on. You have to know what that's not right. Okay. I got it. Next day the prince went shouting. next day the prince went charging down. Next day the prince went charging down to knock on all the doors in town. In every house the tension grew. Who was the owner of this shoe? The shoe was long and very wide. A normal foot gets lost inside. Alas, it smelled a wee bit icky. The owner's feet were hot and sticky. Thousands of eager people came to try it on, but all in vain. Now came the ugly sisters go. One tried it on, the prince screamed, "No!" But she screamed, "Yes, it fits, whoopee! So now you've got to marry me." The prince went white from ear to ear. He muttered, "Let me out of here." "Oh no, you don't. You made a vow. There is no way you can duck out now." "Off with her head!" the prince roared back. They chopped it off with one big whack. This pleased the prince. He smiled and said, "She's prettier without her head." Then up came sister number 2, who yelled, "Now I will try the shoe." "Try this instead," the prince yelled back. He swung his thrusty sword and smack. Her head went crashing to the ground. It bounced a bit and rolled around. In the kitchen, peeling spuds. Cinderella heard the thuds of bouncing heads bouncing heads on the floor, and poked her own head round the door. "What's all this racket?" Cindy cried. Mind your own biz," the prince replied. Poor Cindy's heart was torn in shreds. "My prince," she thought, "chopping off heads! How could I marry anyone who does this sort of thing for fun?" The prince cried, "Who is it?" I hadn't read this before actually reading it, I'm so sorry, but the prince cried, "Who is this dirty slut? Off with a nut, off with a nut." Just then, all in a blaze of light, the magic fairy hove in sight. Her magic wand went swoosh and swish. "Cindy," she cried, "come make a wish. Wish anything and have no doubt that I will make it come about." Cindy answered, "Oh, kind fairy, this time I shall be more wary. No more princes, no more money. I've had my taste of honey. I'm wishing for a decent man. They're hard to find. Do you think you can?" Within a minute, Cinderella was married to a lovely fellow, a simple gem maker by trade, who sold good homemade marmalade. The house was filled with smiles and laughter, and they were to live happily ever after.
The British aristocracy used to, how do we say, they tried their very hardest to keep Roald Dahl in their presence. He knew them well.
All right. Well, I've got 2 to go, and the one that Ashley wants me to read out. I'll start with just this one. This is a little mussing on chaos theory, which is the reorganisation of complex systems. As they break down, they go into an apparent phase of chaos before reorganising at a higher level. It's like a calm ocean, and then the wind blows. The waves begin to build and the water moves and flows. As waves approach the shore, the waves break. But we can't stand up to the waves because we don't have what it takes. So we dive under the waves and they wash above. And in the undertow is silence, peace and love. Then the winds stop blowing and the waves calm down and we swim up from below and we don't drown. And the calm seas arrive after winds blast, and once again the ocean is like glass.
Can you read that again? Do you mind reading that again?
Oh, I can, yeah.
Yeah, read it again. I need to hear that twice. What a strange echo it's got with the W.H. Auden I wanted you to read.
It's like a calm ocean, and the winds blow, and the waves begin to build, and the water moves and flows. As the waves approach the shore, the waves break, but we can't stand up to the waves as we don't have what it takes. So we dive under the waves, and they wash above, and in the undertow is silence, peace and love. The winds stop blowing and the waves calm down and we swim up from below and do not drown. The calm seas arrive after the winds blast, and then once again the ocean is like glass. All right. what you mean. Yeah. This is called The More Loving One by W.H. Auden. Something that Ashley's asked me to
Popped
read.
up when I pressed the button this morning on my iPhone. There it was, unbeknownst to the gods. Godly.
The More Loving One.
It's a great poem. I thought, oh, what a great poem. I'm glad I'm reading that this morning on my iPhone.
Looking up to the stars, I know quite well that for all they care, I can go to hell. But on earth, indifference is the least we have to dread from man or beast. How should we like it were stars to burn with a passion for us could not return? If equal affection cannot be, let the more loving one be me. Admirer as I think I am of stars that do not give a damn, I cannot, now I see them, say I missed one terribly all day. Were all the stars to disappear or die, I should learn to look at an empty sky and feel its total dark sublime, though this might take me a little time. Yeah, I like it. So, yes, it is. Yeah.
Simple and deep and deeply.
Yeah.
So on that, I'm finished. I've got one to go. It's about a six-legged camel cow, but it was only because I was like, without my glasses on, I don't see like 2020. I see 2021. That's a joke, but anyway.
That makes it fast.
Anyway, I saw these like two cows next to each other, and it looked like one had a hump and they had 6 legs, and it had 6 legs, but it was 2 cows. Yeah, when I got close, it wasn't a 6-legged camel cow. The 6-legged camel cow looked at me and said, "It's raining, but we're 2 cowgirls, and we're wet." One cow said to the other, "Are you worried about mad cow disease?" The other replied, "I'm a chicken. I'm worried about bird flu, and birds don't get cow disease." The first cow said, "That's bull." The second cow started jumping about. The first cow said, "What are you doing?" The second cow said, "Making a milkshake." First cow said, "Can I have a taste?" and got down to suck the other cow's teat, and after a couple of minutes she put her head up, said, "I can't get out any milk. This idea is an utter failure." The second cow sneezed. "Damn, hay fever." Second cow said, "I'm going to jump over the moon." "Why?" said the first cow. "To get to the Milky Way." The little dog laughed. It's a bit of bullshit I wrote once, you know, when I saw like a 6-legged camel cow. Yeah. All right, well that's it from me and everyone else.
And it's it from him.
Is it from him and her and those ones over there?
See you later, James.
See you later.